Hello, everyone. Thanks for tuning Blaque in once again to Authentic Black Goddess TV. I'm your host, QueenAShakur, and this is your daily vitamin. So as you're coming in, please feel free to go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so. Be sure to click that notification bell and click the word all so that you're notified each time the Queen Goddess goes live. So let's get into it. So this story is so grisly, honey. A disgraced Florida youth pastor, age 65, is sentenced to life in prison for the grisly 1994 murder where he dismembered a 16-year-old boy and dumped his torso at a gas station. Now, after he killed the young man, he decapitated him and also chopped off his legs and his hands. Now, he likely chopped off the head to keep the family or whomever would find the body, the corpse, from identifying him by his dental records. He wanted to disguise the identity, hide the identity of the victim. Also, he likely cut off the hands for the same reason, so they couldn't get fingerprints. And then also he removed his legs, right? So I don't know why he did that, maybe for the same reason. But, so let's get into it because this is also crazy. So Ronnie Hyde, age 65, was convicted Friday in the June 1994 murder and dismemberment of Fred Paul Laster, whose torso was found behind a dumpster at a Lake City gas station. It took police 2 decades to identify the body. Now, it took them 2 decades to find out. And can you imagine the family's trauma and the horror that they were experiencing and all of the hoping, waiting, and wishing that everything's going to turn out fine and, just not having any closure and all of this that they had to go through for 20 years. So they go on to say that Hyde, who was 38 years old at the time of the murder, denied the charges against him, despite the fact that DNA evidence connected him to the crime. Now, he said, "I would never hurt him." This is what he said during his testimony Thursday in court, according to the Florida Times Union. The former pastor maintained his innocence throughout his trial, claiming that he last saw Laster when the teen, who was upset over a dispute with his sister, exited his vehicle along the highway and then disappeared. Now, after 4 days of testimony, Hyde was found guilty of Laster's murder. He was issued a mandatory life prison sentence with 1,851 days already served. He also faces 25 child pornography charges for which he will stand in a separate trial. So that's likely why he killed this young man. 16-year-old, maybe he was grooming him or trying to get frisky with him or whatever in his perversion, and the boy may have resisted or whatever, refused, and maybe that's why he killed him. I don't know. I'm purely speculating, right? But that may be what it was, because he's clearly he's into child pornography and clearly a pedophile. So, or likely a pedophile, shall I say. I don't have proof that he is, but if you're into child pornography, honey, that's probably the next step, I would say. Okay, so anyway, they say Laster's remains were found behind the gas station dumpster on June 5th of 1995. The body was missing its head, legs, and hands. The teen was reported missing by his loved ones in February of 1995. So, what? Hold on. They said his body was found June 5th of 1994. The teen was reported missing by his loved ones in February of 1995. That's quite a long time to report somebody missing, to wait that long. That's like 7 months or 8 months later. That's real crazy to me. I don't know why they waited so long to report him missing. Anyway, however, he wasn't connected to the Lake City cold case until nearly 20 years later. And that's really strange to me that they waited almost a year. That's like 8 whole months they waited before they reported this kid missing, if this date is correct. It says February of 1995. Witt was killed on June the 5th of 1994. I'm wondering why they would wait so long to report a 16-year-old teenager missing. He should have been missing long before that. I mean, reported missing long before that. I don't know. So in 2014, the case was advertised on the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children website, prompting Laster's twin, his sister, to submit a tip that it might be her missing brother. Now, police collected familial DNA samples and compared them to evidence found at the scene in 1994, ultimately leading to his identification in 2016, so long after. Now, Laster's sister told the police that Hyde, who was a licensed mental health counselor, was the last person seen with the teen. He was arrested for Lester's murder in 2017 after a search warrant was executed at his Jacksonville Beach home, and they uncovered evidence connecting him to the case. And let me tell you something, honey, his house was filthy. He was likely a hoarder. I'll show you some video or some pictures in a moment. Now, they said when the police searched his home, it was squalid and in complete disarray. An FBI agent who testified during the trial saying that the house was so full of trash, investigators could not follow their typical protocols for evidence collection. Now, this is what Hyde said upon the arrival of the police and crime scene investigators. He said, "I'm a bit embarrassed about it. If I knew you all were coming over, I would have cleaned up a bit." That's what he said. Hyde testified as the court was shown photos of the search. First Coast News reported that the convicted killer chucked as he made this remark. I think that should have been chuckled. Perhaps it's a typo. Said he chuckled as he made the remark. Now, at the home, authorities found knives and egg crate style mattress toppers that matched similar objects at the gas station where his body was found behind in a dumpster. Additional evidence found at the scene included a red long sleeve flannel shirt that had blood stains, 2 knives, and a decorative non-slip bathtub appliques wrapped in a blood-soaked egg crate style mattress topper, and orange gloves with stains. That's what the Office of the State Attorney for the 4th Judicial Court claimed. Additionally, the bathtub still in Hyde's home showed markings of the decorative bath appliques. Also crazy. Now, here's the thing. They found his body. It was dismembered and all of that. And the sister said, after she gave the tip, she said that it was likely her brother. They took the DNA samples. And then she told them that he was last supposed to be going to meet Hyde, who was a mental health counselor. I wonder how many times in the 20 years since his death, the family had contacted this man, this pastor, and, asked him questions or whatever. This is just all sounding real crazy to me. Am I the only one finding this crazy? Because here's the thing. He was missing. They didn't report it till 8 months later. And then the sister knew that he went to meet this pastor, who wasn't a pastor at the time. He was a mental health counselor. But nevertheless, she knew that he had gone to meet this man on the day that he went missing. So this wasn't reported to the police like years ago. I'm just wondering why, because they could have started investigating him back then. I don't know. Maybe they did, honey, but it's not giving that type of detail. So just begs the question. So anyway, they go on to say the state alleged a witness saw a charcoal colored sports car backed up to the dumpster the morning prior to the gas station opening. Hyde drove a Camaro at the time of the murder. And they said a sports car, so a Camaro is a sports car. Now, Hyde, however, said he had no idea where the items police discovered at the crime scene had come from, including a red plaid shirt that had his DNA on it. Let me tell you something. Now, he knows he's lying. First of all, you killed this young man 20 years ago, and you still got a blood-stained plaid shirt in your house. And all they had to do was match the DNA from that, to the young man. And so, honey, he can just really dismiss us with it because he obviously killed this young man. And here's the thing. The fact that he kept that blood-soaked shirt and other items, that makes me think that he's likely a serial killer. I don't think this was his first murder, or it may have been his first, but I definitely don't think it was his last, because serial killers do things like this, decapitating and severing bodies and all that stuff, dismembering them so they can hide evidence and hide the identification of the victim. And this is what an organized serial killer would do. Okay. And because they always think and plan ahead methodically, but also the fact that he kept the shirt, that seems to have been a souvenir. Another thing that serial killers do. They'll keep like a lock of hair, an eyeball, a finger, a nose. An article of clothing, piece of jewelry, licenses, and things like that. They often keep these things. If you remember, BTK, Bind, Torture, Kill, right? David Nader, I think that was his name. He actually kept the driver's license of one of his victims. And in fact, that's how he ended up getting caught, because they had not solved that case in like 30 plus years. And then on I think it was the 30th anniversary of it or something, he tried to be a smart ass and put the license in a cereal box along with a disc from the computer at the church he went to, having deleted stuff from it, not knowing they'd be able to still trace it and bring up the files that he'd actually deleted. And so he put it in the cereal box and put it somewhere on a street where it was found for the police to find it. And they're trying to be funny, you know, putting it in a cereal box like serial killer, because clearly what it was. And so anyway, that all led back to him. How stupid, right? But these are the narcissistic patterns of behavior that many serial killers express and exhibit. And also the fact that he kept the souvenirs all of those 30 plus years, you know, BTK. And this man, that's why I think that he was likely a serial killer too, because at the end of the day, who keeps a bloodstained soaked shirt that you used when you murdered someone and decapitated them? Just also sick, clearly nefarious. Now, goes on to say that the search also uncovered, hold on, make sure I don't skip anything. Okay, he claimed that he may have given the shirt to Laster along with an egg crate camping mattress similar to the blood-soaked one that police found in the dumpster. The search also discovered evidence of child pornography as well as a homemade display of sex offender mugshots in his home. He also has been accused of luring other children to his home to abuse them. This man is a whole pervert and freaking pedophile. I'm going to tell you right now, if he's done this to other children, you know, luring them to his home and having child pornography and all of this stuff, this man has absolutely killed some other children before. You can best believe and rest assured, honey. And if he got away with killing this 16-year-old for 20 years, he's likely gotten away with killing a few other people. I'm just speculating, but I absolutely believe that to be the case. A whole psychopath. Now, Hyde met Laster in the mid-1980s and formed a relationship with his family, according to prosecutors. And you know what? That may be why the sister didn't say anything if she never said anything before. Maybe they didn't think he had anything to do with it. Maybe they knew that he was going to meet this man and thought that somehow he got sidetracked or something just happened. I don't know, but it just all seems kind of strange. And, you know, the sad thing is this man who was the murderer, he likely was still being friends with the family the whole time. Who knows? He also served as a foster father to the teen and his two siblings. Now, ahead of Hyde's sentencing, the boy's brother, Travis Laster, tearfully offered a victim statement claiming the entire family lost someone who they loved dearly. Travis shared how their grandmother died without ever getting closure because police had not identified Laster's remains until 2016. They say on her deathbed, she questioned what happened to Freddie. She literally died hours later, not knowing. That's what he said in the courtroom. He says, we have our brothers and sisters who wondered what happened to Freddie, not knowing what happened, but more than just the immediate loss, we lost a future with our brother. We lost a brother we don't get to call on the weekends. After the verdict, the family issued a statement sharing how they never given up hope. They say this has been a long emotional road and we're grateful there is finally justice for Fred. That's what they read from a statement. It's also sad. 16-year-old child lost his life, or teenager. And let me just show you some pictures of the victim and the killer, as well as this dirty house he was living in. It's also like crazy. Like stuff, everyone, please like and share. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so. Thank you in advance. And so that's the killer right there in the suit with the yellow shirt. And that's the victim next to him. Ronnie Hyde, the killer, is 65 years old at this point. He was 38 when he did the murder. And the young man he murdered was 16, Fred Laster. This is where the remains were found behind the gas station dumpster on June 5th of 1994. The body was missing the head, legs, and hands. And here is the trash dumpster where the torso was found. Later identified 20 years later as Fred Laster. That's the crime scene investigators gathering evidence at Laster's home in 2017. The warrant was executed in his Jacksonville Beach home. And then this, Hyde said he had no idea where the items police discovered came from. As you can see, there's a piece of a black plaid shirt that they claim was covered in blood. And also crazy. And it had the victim's DNA on it. Here's another picture of his dirty house. An FBI agent who testified during the trial that Hyde's house was so full of trash, investigators could not follow their typical protocols or for evidence collection. So just also disgusting, honey. Just a whole nasty freak, pervert, pedophile, killer, and all of the above. So sad. Anyway, at least now the family has closure after all those years. So with that all being said, so listen to this. Hold on, let me pull this up. So Lewis Julian Lewis, a 60-year-old black man who was killed by a state trooper in 2020. Well, his family is receiving a settlement of $4.8 million. The family of Julian Lewis, a black man shot and killed by a state trooper in southeast Georgia more than a year ago, has reached a nearly $5 million settlement with the state. Now, in a release, attorneys with Hall and Lampros LLP said Lewis's widow, Betty, secured what they said was a record settlement with the state of Georgia for $4.8 million. And let me tell you something. This is also crazy because they killed this man. I reported this story when it first happened. And they said that he was driving and there was some type of traffic infraction where they were going to pull him over, and he kept going. So finally, when he did pull over, the trooper got out and shot him in his face and killed him. Now, I don't know why he felt the need to shoot the man in the face. Why he felt the need to shoot him at all. You could have just taken him to jail. According to the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, Lewis was shot once and killed by Jacob Thompson, a white trooper, following a chase in Screven County on August the 7th of 2020. The attorney for Lewis and for Lewis's widow said Thompson initiated a traffic stop for an alleged broken tail light, something so minuscule you lose your life over, people. Now, if you're black, even though his tail light was not even broken, pay attention, honey. The lies they tell. They'll figure out any reason to pull you over just to harass, brutalize, even kill you. So sad. Now, they said that he was on his way to the store to buy a soda for his wife when the incident began. The GBI has said Lewis did not stop and that the subsequent chase went down several county roads. It said it went down several county roads, ending with Thompson performing a pit maneuver. And here's something I want to say. You know, a lot of times when we hear these stories and they say the black person ran or they fled, you know, in their vehicle or whatever, and then some racist people say, well, you know, if they didn't do anything wrong, why did they run? Or why did they keep driving? Why didn't they stop? Here's the thing. Easy for them to say when they're not the ones being murdered while unarmed by police. Because black people are scared. That's why they run. They run because they're afraid. They fear for their lives. Just like the police always say after they kill unarmed black people. Well, black people fear for their lives too. And the thing is, we don't have the luxury of firing back and getting off. Okay? So they run. They run for fear of their lives. That's what they do. And they say the police have to make split-second decisions. Well, so do black people. So do black people. And sometimes that split-second decision tells them to run, right? To fly, to take flight, because they're afraid. And so anyway, with that all being said, goes on to say that they performed a pit maneuver. According to the Bureau, Thompson fired one round and Lewis was pronounced dead in the scene. And that round hit him in the face, just so you know. They say it is believed that Lewis was attempting to drive toward a familiar area where he knew other people would be present. So the man wasn't even eluding the police. He was trying to go somewhere in a clear, well-lit area. And let me tell you something. I've done that myself. And I have a friend who's done the same thing. If you're on a dark road and there's no lighting, it's not well lit, there's no other cars around, I'm not stopping for the police. I'm just not. You know, I would actually drive off the exit or go somewhere where there's a well-lit area. And at the end of the day, what you can do if you ever find yourself in this predicament, you can call 911 and tell them that a cop is behind me. I'm on such and such street. They're trying to pull me over. My name is so-and-so. I'm going to stop. I'm not eluding them. I'm just pulling into a well-lit area so that I and the cop feel safe. That's all. You can do that. You can try that. Now, the cop may be a racist devil like this one clearly was to get out and shoot you anyway. And so it's really sometimes a no-win situation. But I'm just saying, honey, that's what I would do. Okay? So clearly this cop had murder on his mind because there was no reason to shoot the man in the face. And so they go on to say that he was going to try to pull over to somewhere where there's more people present, a practice commonly taught to people who may feel vulnerable in isolated areas where there's nobody else present to witness events. That's what the attorney said, describing the events leading to Lewis's death. Lewis activated his turn signals in both directions, which is often a sign of acknowledgement to the officer. Yes, that's another thing. Turn on your turn signals, people. And let me tell you something. A friend of mine told me a few years ago that something similar happened to her. She was on a dark road. It was raining, whatever. She called the police, the dispatch, to let them know that she's pulling over, whatever. She gets to a gas station. And the cop just gets out of his car. He's so mad and irate, just going off on her. Oh, you tried to flee, and this, that, and the third. And she told him, I have 911 on the phone. I was telling them that I was going to pull over and that I was just afraid to pull over in the dark. And it was raining outside. And so it was just, she just didn't feel safe. So you just have to figure out what to do sometimes, honey, because at the end of the day, if they really want to kill you, honey, they're going to do it anyway. I mean, what do we have? You know what I'm saying? That we can absolutely do that guarantees we'll get home safe. Nothing. We don't. We can only hope. So anyway, that's the sad plight of being Black and the divided snakes, unfortunately. So anyway, they said that less than 2 seconds passed from the time the trooper opened the door to the time he fired the shot that killed Lewis. The attorneys also said they reviewed an incident report in which Thompson wrote that he heard Lewis's engine revving at a high rate of speed and making him fear for his life. See, that's a lie. I don't believe a word of that. Do they have footage of it? I'd like to know. Because the family still said, I do believe they have footage, but the family had said they had not released the footage. Even still, right? So they can miss me with it because I absolutely think the cop just said that because that's just an excuse for him to lie and say, I feared for my life. Please miss me with it. Now, according to the law firm, though an investigation proved that neither taillight on Lewis's car was in condition to justify probable cause for the stop, and that the pit maneuver caused Lewis's battery cable and air filter to disengage, which completely disabled the engine in his Nissan Sentra, making it impossible to rev his engine, as the trooper stated in the incident report. Like I said, lying. Okay, the attorneys said they have never been given the dash cam video from the shooting and that there was no body cam video. No, they're not going to get the dash cam because they already know, the police that is, already know that the state trooper lied. There was no revving of the engine. Please miss us with all of it. Now, the settlement is the largest in Georgia history in state records dating back to 1990, according to the law firm. They say our hearts grieve for Betty Lewis, who lost her golden years with her husband because of an unwarranted and unnecessary use of deadly force during what should have been a routine traffic stop. They had no business even stopping the man in the beginning. Andrew Lampros, the co-founder of the firm, said that in a statement, that it was just also unnecessary. It's just so sad. I'm going to share my screen. Everyone, please get the likes up. Please like and share.
There are now 2 major settlements across Georgia making headlines tonight, folks. The first one is out of Screven County near the South Carolina border. So the widow of Julian Lewis has now been awarded $4.8 million, making it the largest pre-litigation settlement ever in the state of Georgia. Lewis was shot and killed by a Georgia state trooper in 2020 after being pulled over for an alleged broken tail light. The trooper was fired and then later arrested, but a grand jury declined to indict him. Now, Lewis's family attorneys say this settlement holds someone accountable in Julian's death.
If the state of Georgia was willing to pay $4.8 million to settle this lawsuit, it's an indication of how egregious this act was. There was no excuse. There was no justification.
So the fight still continues for the Lewis family. They are still demanding the release of the dash cam video from that particular night. Now, Lewis's attorneys tell 11 Alive that they've been told the video has not been released because of the ongoing investigation.
For the 45 million Americans paying off student
So they say the video hasn't been released, because of an ongoing investigation. Please miss me with it. I don't believe a word of what these devils are saying. I just do not believe a word of it. And so anyway, hold on. Let me share my screen again.
who was shot and killed by a Georgia state trooper is demanding more than a month after his death. Julian Lewis was killed on August 7th following a chase in Screven County in southeast Georgia. Saturday, a caravan traveled from Atlanta to Sylvania to protest his death. The initial investigation found the 60-year-old refused to stop for a traffic stop, and that led to a short chase. It ended with Trooper Jacob Thompson firing at Lewis and hitting him and killing him. Now the family is demanding the audio and video recordings from the incident be released.
release the tape. If the tape showed that Julian had did something to deserve his death, it would have already been released. Release it. We paid for it, and we demand to receive that evidence.
Thompson was arrested and his bond denied after the incident.
And so you saw the trooper, honey. He clearly looked like he was racist as far as I'm concerned. And second of all, yeah, so they're not releasing that tape, and we all know why. So they can miss us with it. And so with that all being said, here's another thing. There was here it is. Carl Watts Jr. charged in deadly shooting of his wife, Chandrell Harris, at North Miami Beach Jewish Community Center. Again with Florida, with the nefariousness. Florida and Georgia, honey, they stay rocked with mischievous things going on and racist things and all of that. Miami-Dade police have released the name of the man who they say shot and killed his wife at a North Miami Beach Jewish Community Center over the weekend. Now, Carl Watts Jr. has been charged with second-degree murder in the death of 30-year-old Chandrell Harris. According to police, Watts had stabbed Harris on Saturday. She reported it to Miami police. Harris's family said she went to the Michael Ann Russell Jewish Community Center on Sunday with her 12-year-old daughter and her mother for the girls' swimming lessons. Watts arrived at the center, according to police, offered Harris money to drop the charges against him, and she refused and asked him to leave. Honey, I wouldn't drop charges either. If you stab me, honey, that's what we're not going to do. We're not dropping no charges. Now, witnesses at the pool say they heard 5 gunshots and saw a man chasing a woman. I saw the shooter, one person says, running after someone with the gun. We heard a big boom. My granddaughter was in the pool for a swimming lesson, and I looked up and saw the shooter with my own eyes, chasing after somebody with a handgun. Then we just ran. We ran and hid. Honey, it's a darn shame. You can't even take your kids nowhere without fools acting crazy. And if he wanted her to drop the charges for the stabbing, then you're going to go back and shoot her? That really made sense, right? Please. So he followed her, they say, chased her down and shot her like an animal, like he was hunting. This is what Aaron Batten, a family member, says. Police said they were trying to find Watts and arrest him for the stabbing, but they were too late. They said the actual presence of a firearm in the house sees the risk of homicide, domestic violence. The actual presence of a firearm in the house sees the risk of homicide, domestic violence cases go up by 500%. So I'm not at all shocked that weapons had been used and ultimately were the thing that sadly ended up taking this woman's life. That's what Patrick DiCarlo, a licensed marriage and family therapist, had to say. Now, Harris's family said she had aspirations of being a Miami-Dade commissioner and was a great mother. Everything was for her child and her marriage, they say. She was a happy person. She didn't deserve this at all. That's what her family members said. So on Monday, Watts appeared in court with his hands cuffed in front of him. He said nothing as the judge upped the homicide charge he was facing. They said, why isn't it first degree? He went there to JCC with a gun. Guns aren't even allowed at JCC. And then he shot the victim multiple times, says Judge Mindy Glazier. Now, the 45-year-old has an extensive criminal background. He's a person of interest in the mysterious death of Trukita Scott, a Fort Lauderdale woman who shares a child with Watts. Fort Lauderdale police are asking anyone with information in the 2014 case to come forward. So, honey, he's wanted for a person of interest in another homicide or missing death. And let's just go to this. Let's just go to this other person that has come up missing and they believe he had something to do with it, honey. It's all so crazy.
In Northeast Miami-Dade to a woman who's been missing from Fort Lauderdale for years. CBS 4's Bobeth Yates spoke with the missing woman's father, and she joins us live tonight. Bobeth?
Well, Lauren, that family is grieving, and this situation is opening up old wounds that they say they're wanting to get resolved. Take a listen.
My prayers go out to the family for what they're going through. I understand. but that's the kind of gentleman that he is.
Charles Scott is referring to Carl Watts, the man arrested for the shooting death of Chandrell Harris, Watts' wife. The brutal murder occurred Sunday in front of her 12-year-old daughter during her swimming lesson at the Jewish Community Center in Northeast Miami-Dade.
He went there to the JCC with a gun. Guns aren't allowed in the JCC, and then he shot the victim multiple times.
Watts went before a judge Monday and was denied bond, but Scott says he should have never been out of jail because he believes Watts is responsible for the mysterious disappearance of his daughter, Trakita Scott, who was dating Watts and had a son with him.
She broke up with him, and she was moving on, and he wanted to see her about giving money for her son, and we told her don't go see him by herself. But she thought that, this would never happen.
That was back in 2014, and Trakita has not been seen since. In a statement, Fort Lauderdale police says they are aware of Watts' current murder arrest and that he's considered a person of interest in Trakita's case. And now they're asking anyone with information about her disappearance to come forward. Sentiments echoed by Scott.
Not having closure on what happened, just, speculation on what could have happened. But the main thing is we would like to know where our daughter is at and what happened to her. Anything would be helpful. I think it's very unfortunate that it had to happen to someone else's child and another person had to lose their life because of this.
Again, anyone with information about Trakita Scott's disappearance is asked to call Fort Lauderdale police. Live in Northwest Miami-Dade, Blaque, CBS 4 News.
Clearly nefarious, honey. And I'm pretty sure he killed that first woman as well, Trakita. And that's Trakita Scott. He likely killed her too, honey. This man is just one of those people who can't take no for an answer, can't stand rejection, is clearly violent, has a history of it, and will just do anything and everything he can to get what he wants. And if not, well, he'll just kill the person. That's what it sounds like. A sociopath, no less. Anyways, also sad and nefarious. Thoughts and prayers out to the family, honey, because this is just real sad. So everyone, please like and share, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Be sure to click that notification bell, click the word all, so that you're notified each time the Queen Goddess goes live. And I want to thank you all for tuning Blaque in once again. All right, enjoy the rest of this lovely day. Peace.
In order for you and me to devise some kind of method or strategy to offset some of the events or a repetition of the events that have taken place here in Los Angeles recently, we have to go to the root. We have to go to the cause. Dealing with the condition itself is not enough.
Dear Mr. Massa, I'm just trying to mind my own business. What's the matter? It's just another day, another black king captured. I'm about to lose my brain, stuck inside this ghetto rapture. I got a lot of smoke. If you want it, you can have it. They want a hat trick, but this is black girl magic. Ain't talking about the kind that'll make you disappear, but I'm talking about the power of the melanin within. Ain't looking for trouble, but I'ma say this one time. I put 2 dukes up if you try to touch mine. We still want justice for Samir and Trayvon. You say you don't see color, but racism ain't blind. They targeting little kids whose skin look just like mine. So I'm paranoid, it's a war zone outside. And I'm a black queen, so if you ask me to step out of my car, you gon' have to snatch me. Cause I ain't going no damn well. Had to spend my whole life living unfair. Ancestors got my back and they right here. You can never understand, it's a nightmare. Living in my black shoes by the black rules. You can keep your handshake, I don't dap coons. The white man to go nuts if he can't shoot. But you all on his side like a damn fool. Make it make sense.
We are oppressed.
Queen.
We are exploited. We are downtrodden.
Make it make
Queen.
We are
sense.
denied not only civil rights, but even human rights.
Ahmadiyah.
So the only way we're going to get some of this
Ahmadiyah.
oppression and exploitation
Queen.
away from us or aside from us is come together
Queen.
against the common enemy. Who taught you to hate the texture of your
Ahmadiyah.
hair? Who taught you to hate the color of your
Ahmadiyah.
skin?
Parents, pay attention to the books, the school system, even to your little children. Lies mixed with wisdom. His skin too bright, so he was blind to the prison. My skin just right, so I collide with division. You trying to pray to God, but we tired of religion. No savior saving, we got to save our savings. We used to pay miss, how we gon' make the slave rich? But who's to blame, and tell me why you complaining? We need a team effort just to rule the nation. Like a bad relationship, missing communication. We missing moderation. They trying to
to get a poison to my population. No reparations. I'm getting tired of Satan.
We are oppressed.
Queen.
I'm getting tired of waiting.
We are downtrodden.
Queen.
We are denied not only civil rights, but even human rights.
Ahmadiyah.
So the only way we're going to get